Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. Right now, we are in the countdown mode. It's supposed to air live. You can check it out on KCAA radio station 1050 AM, live on their app at KCAA. Download the app, and you can see that it will go live around at exactly 2:06 p.m. Pacific time. So I I don't get nervous no more. That's one thing I don't get. I'm really a happy-go-lucky person that sits up there and you know I'm just gonna put filibusters in this right now until I'm gonna prolong it in layman's terms until 2:06. So I'm a happy-go-lucky person. I'm not nervous. What I am nervous about, which I haven't been nervous in years, is how I'm going to put this finishing product together. I want to talk about Seattle's issues arising with not only the justice system, the legislative system, the Thurston County media, the police, even the state troopers being less. It's only 9,000 officers, but I'll talk about that then. But I'll give you a rough detail of what I'm going to talk about, okay? So basically, it's very hard. I'm not going to go down a list of everything, but we have questions that need to be answered, such as why, and I'll ask them again when we go live. We have 6 minutes, which is why did they cut the studio time in Seattle traditional TV community channel in 2020? Right? 800,000 people. And then how many children is in Washington State? That comes with a question in itself. The population of Washington State houses over 7.8 million people. That's just a statement. And then I put, how is the ethnic background in Southeast Seattle? And first, what I'll do is I'll plan to talk about it. I'll plan to talk about it, my past and present and future, and then I'll decide what I'm going to do with my with those 4 questions, because we have to know about. Hold on, let me turn this off. We have to know about what's going on in the heart of Seattle. Those are hard questions. I may not talk about Gaza and anything else, but I will say that that's above my headline right now. My job is to talk about what's going on in the heart of Seattle. My job is to talk about what's going on that hurts us in the heart of Seattle and helps the rich people. My job is to talk about why we have so much crime. 2 people a couple of days ago, if not a day ago, there was a drive-by shooting. I mean, like, how old can you be to do drive-by shootings? The age limit just doesn't even exist no more. You're going to be an old man doing drive-by shootings. And then you carry the torch. That's why I don't find it, and I'll talk about this too, I don't find it readily acceptable that older adults that come out from prison and repeat offenders that come out from prison, whatever the race, work with younger adults that are just joining the McDonald's, Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken industry franchise. It's like being in a jail one of a juvenile justice system, another of a fresh person, naive young adult that don't know what's going on, just think that being bad is right, and they taint them and they show them the wrong way. They brag and they boast about being thank you, 4 minutes. They brag and they boast about being killers or whatever they did to get into there, whatever the race may be. And I feel like right now, download, number one, since we got 3 minutes left, download the KCAA affiliates of NBC app, and you'll hear me talking 3 minutes. Then you can, if you're in the California area, you can tune into 11:50 a.m. Yes. So yeah, do that, and we're about to get scheduled. Once it hit that 2-minute mark, which is about to in the next 45 seconds, I'm just going to stay silent. It's going to be a dead silent while I get myself and resonate myself in Zen mode to talk about these things, because I feel like it's time that the people know exactly what is going on. Okay. Dead silence right now. Get ready. One minute left. Thirty seconds. Follow the app, the KCAA app, 11:50 a.m. if you want. Download the app if you want to hear me. Ten seconds. 5. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. Wow, I have a lot that I want to discuss about the Seattle area, what's being filibustered and what's being prolonged, and different things that's been hurting our community as a whole, especially with community TV networks and putting low income people all in one spot where crime rate is sky high, and that's being Capitol Hill. And then we're going to talk about how many children and young adults are in the state of Washington State itself, and how many people houses Washington State theirself. Now, before we get to that, I want to say that I'm running for state senate without any help, and it is very hard on me. I'm not doing it for the credits or the votes, but I need to saturate my audience with choice. You all have the power of choice to vote for me. You all have a choice to vote for me as someone that will truly help this 34th district. Not come in with a suit and a tie, or a female suit and a tie, or a dress talking about, hi, my name is Kimberly Cloud, If you vote for me, Social Security will be at the lowest, and you'll be at the highest with getting back a revenue. You'll get gas prices down low and all this stuff, because that comes from the executive branch. That comes from the executive branch. I cannot control that. I can only put laws into effect that people can pass to control it, but it's not up to me fully. So what I would do is I would sit up there and vow that I will help Seattle as a whole take care of the issues that they need to take care of. And what I mean by that is this: Seattle has closed down and is continuing to close down a lot of community television agencies. And those agencies charge a low fee to get put on the air and get put on the SEO platform of Google. Now, those platforms are educational because you have young adults 14 or even younger than 14, let's just say 10 to 18 and 18 on up, using that platform. These platforms are educational, and so I want to discuss that. And I wanted to let you know I'm not making you do anything. Note, you all don't know me personally, but I'm rooting for a more able, fulfilling, and trustworthy Seattle. I want to make Seattle great again. Are you not tired of politics playing a role in everything, or do you want your life to be controlled every day? We have the right to freedom of speech, but I'm not here to talk about filibusters. I'm here to talk about the statistics, 3 shows, and elaborate on 4 subjects that does not quite make sense. Now, before I go into these shows, I would like to talk about my past, present, and future, and what I've done and what angles has happened to me during the course of the time that I've been here in Seattle. Now, I can't speak about every single detail, but I put the positives in it and not the negatives. If you want to follow me at the Kimberly Cloud Show 39 on Facebook, you can find out what happened to me negative. I don't lie about anything, but here it goes. I was living for at least 7 years of my life. I'm actually from Washington, D.C., and I went to William Bing's Elementary School for kindergarten to at least a little bit of kindergarten. Then we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, poverty rates were low, only making $300 and some odd dollars a month of welfare didn't quite fit it in my mother's, pockets. And so she fought with the school board all the time to get us in good schools and not poverty-ridden schools. Now, before she fought, we did get into a couple of good schools, but we wound up going to Billingsville Elementary, me and my sister. I spent lots of times, lots of vigorous work, lots of challenges, but I managed to graduate. I was in the orchestra club where they loaned me a violin and they loaned me a cello. And it was like drumline. I couldn't read music. I could only hear it and make a tune to it. So by the time I got to 7th grade, I was about to be homeschooled and didn't even know it. I sat up there and couldn't read the music right. I was at Southwest or Southeast Charlotte or Southwest Charlotte Middle School, and I couldn't read the music, so I just gave up on. And it was a requirement that you had to read the music, and that was a very prestigious school that I was at, and it was very beautiful. And I hated that I had to leave there. It was a very wonderful school, but I ended up getting homeschooled. My mother didn't have time to homeschool me, so I educated myself with math. I didn't understand math, odd numbers, and all that great stuff, basic math, that is. And so I started teaching myself. I taught myself to the best of my degree that I could teach myself. And then I was working at the Winn-Dixie. Now, mind you, when I was 12, I actually walked into a Wendy's to try to put in for an application because I needed some money. And they said, come back when you're 15. They laughed at me because I was ready to work. And so I sat up there and I was working at the Winn-Dixie. Come to find out, my mother had stage 4 colon cancer. And she sat up there and passed away in a vigorous way that was unbeknownst to me. But I'll say that moving on, that I moved up to Washington, D.C. Now, when I moved up to Washington, D.C., I I took a test, a vigorous test that made me go to I had ninth grade classes, 10th grade classes, and 11th grade classes that I could take so I can catch up with my class and graduate on time with my class. I decided that I wanted to take all those classes, and I was taking 7 classes for 2 years. And at my downfall, I had a drug addiction to marijuana, you know, but I graduated with honors, and I was in a class of 3,000 people. I graduated with 3,000 people. And so after I graduated, I sat up there and I was already on a delayed entry program. I went back down to Charlotte, North Carolina to be with my brother. And come to find out, he ended up getting shot in the chest. And I saved his life because everybody else was asleep in the house. And if the guy had came through the door, because we were in the ghetto, if the door was not locked, the screen to the projects, he would have came in and shot everybody with the 38 pistol he had. So he shot my brother through the screen and then ran off. And my brother called my name. Everybody else was asleep, and I woke up. And I went to the military after that. I went to the Army, and I got an honorable discharge. I won't explain what happened to me in the Army, but I got an honorable discharge. And I'm forever indebted to the Army Review Board for that, for seeing it my way and showing them the proof of what I had, because it just didn't make sense what was going on in the unit I was at. And I got an honorable. I didn't get a general. I didn't get an other than. I got an honorable. It went from other than honorable to honorable. And they just don't give out honorables like hotcakes. They'll give you a general because it's costing them money. So I sat up there, got an honorable, because I loved being in the military. And I traveled to Korea. That was my first overseas duty station. And from Korea, I sat up there and graduated, got out. From Fort Campbell, I finally got out the military. From getting out the military, we went to Hawaii. My first husband went over to Iraq or Afghanistan, and I spent time, going to tea ceremonies, Chinese, Asian tea ceremonies where they make the thick tea, green tea, and it was delicious, and I loved it. It was delicious, and I loved it. And so I sat up there, and after Hawaii, I went back, and from there I went to Baltimore. We split up, me and my husband, and I went to Baltimore. I was at a shelter at Baltimore. This was before I got my honorable discharge. I gave up on it. I didn't get no health care except female health care, and that was it. So I think psychiatry too, or mental health, should I say. So when I came to Baltimore, I was at a shelter, McVets, and I sat up there and left there. And I'm not going to tell the story about the rat. Whoever followed me know I want to tell the story about the rat, but I'm not. And I probably said it already on here, but To get to the point, I moved out into another apartment. Baltimore itself have a rat problem, a big rat problem. Like even downtown in the best areas, they have rat problems. And they swarm the bakery shops. They said it's becoming a real huge issue. And that was in 2017, 16. And so I found my second husband about 2013. We started talking and we moved in together by 2016 and a half and moved out to the best area I will ever say, which was Mountaintop, PA. In Mountaintop, PA, I was able to meet a guy that they made Enemy of the State about. He didn't want nothing but $5 from the movie. The movie grossed millions, if not billions of dollars. It's called Enemy of the State with Will Smith. And there was a white guy in there too. I forgot his name. And Marty Kaiser is his name. He's a white man that built technology for the FBI, the CIA, and the police. He built that technology, and I will forever be indebted into him too. He knows about frequencies, he knows about different things, and he built a lot of technology for them. He ended up getting sued by them, or they sued him, or he sued them, and it backfired. But he was who they made Enemy of the State about. And so it's an honor to have met him at his elder age, a tender elder age. And I never got to drink tea. I always invited him for tea. And if you want to find Marty Kaiser, his webpage is Odyssey of an Eavesdropper. Odyssey of an Eavesdropper. And so to get to the point, after that, I ended up moving through Bethlehem and Easton and a lot of good places. Homeless because I ended up splitting up with my other husband. I won't get into the specifics of why, but I split up with him and I was homeless again. And I ended up staying at a shelter in Bethlehem, PA. And from there, I ended up driving all the way to Philadelphia, where I learned very quickly that if you're out in the wrong street at the wrong time, you will get shot. It's way worse. It's pancakes here compared to Philadelphia. If you're black, like all around is spray painted, is painted Black Lives Matter. My interpretation of that is Black Lives Die. That's what the flip up is from. Because I don't understand, if Black Lives Matter, why are black people killing black people? Who owns Black Lives Matter? But I won't get into that. So to get to the point, like 2,000 black men died like 2, 3, 4 years ago. Like the toll is just ticketing. My heart goes out to the black men that's dying, that's not doing nothing wrong. I know one guy that got shot in the head and he lived to tell his story. So to get to the point, after I moved from Philadelphia, I said I wanted to go to California. I moved to California. I was at another shelter that the VA helped funded. And then I moved into my own place again. And from there, from the place that I moved in, I'm just being honest with you guys. I have no reason or nothing to hide from you guys. I may have been in shelters, but there was always circumstances beyond it. You can find my unfiltered videos to show what was the circumstances beyond me going to shelters profusely. When you have no mother, she's dead, father with dementia, sister estranged, brother in jail for methamphetamine use and abuse. Nobody I talked to in my family. So when I moved to Santa Maria, I ended up in a shelter again, and I ended up finding my own place. And then when I got my own place, I sat up there and let's speed this up a little bit, Kim. So I sat up there from finding my own place. I sat up there and spent time building the Kimberly Cloud Show. I was in Who's Who twice. I will be in Who's Who book, their traditional book, come Q1 of 2026 in the middle pages. I'm in their sister program, Power, where Tamaron Hall, do you remember her? Tamaron Hall, she has her own show. She's in there, and a lot of good, courageous women are in there. Police officers, lots of women I've seen, powerful women. And to get back to the point, I built my Kimberly Cloud page up, and I ended up getting awards. And I have the Communicator Awards. I just learned I didn't win the Telly Awards. I guess it's too prestigious. I'm okay with that. But I have the Communicator Awards. I'm supposed to be buying the actual statue. It's a statue, soon as possible, probably next month sometime. And when I built the Kimberly Cloud Show up, there was controversy and everything, but I managed to stay strong. I was supposed to be, I was actually in gym membership programs where how they show different things like themes or videos of different people advertising. I was into advertising heavily in Santa Maria. So then I moved to Salt Lake City, and I kept building the Kimberly Cloud Show. And then I moved to Denver, Colorado, because I wanted to move to the UK and get away. Get away from all the controversy going on. And I decided that I was going to move and move to the UK and then build the Kimberly Cloud Show in the UK. And so from there, I didn't get to go. I ended my last place. I traveled through Seattle the first time. I ended up homeless for a couple of hours because of my phone. My Android phone was tampered with. Somebody, it was on the FBI. Two places I called from the FBI. I called about somebody tampering with my phone and somebody swiping 3 times my card to try to get my card information. And that it was true. It turned out to be true. They call it skimming, and they call it draining battery 30% of your phone. If you go to airports, this is very important, y'all. If you go to airports and plug in your phone, proceed with caution, because they can take 30% of your information, which they did me. And if you're on an Android, a cheap Android phone, they can take your information. And then on top of that, skimming is when they put a card inside of a card, a plate inside of a ATM that looks similar, and you swipe your card and they get your information, and they can create a new card and really skim your stuff. So that's very important. I called about 2 of them, and I called, and then 2 months later it was on the news, and I was so happy. I was like, they're finally listening to me. So they always listening. So anyway, let's proceed. So from Ketchikan, Alaska, it happened to me there. I moved back, or I stayed at Seattle. I was at I forgot about Boston too, but let's not even get into the logistics. I was at Seattle YWCA downtown, and they actually played me very well. It was an African American woman that sat up there and played me very well and said to me that they took my bed, my veteran's bed, like 2 hours ago. And I was like, well, you told me to be back at this time. And she was like, well, I'm sorry, you have to sleep amongst the general population. And that's when something tragic happened to me, and I ended up doing something I'm not proud of, but you can learn about it at the Kimberly Cloud Show. I will be doing a segment about it today. So with that being said, we move to proceed to what I want to do now. I'm running for state senate because I may not have, working on my master's. I got 5 more classes left. When it hits the 3 class mark, I will be taking doctorates classes. for business management. What else? I have a Roku channel that's in progress. And that's basically it. So let's move on. I will be running for the 34th District, Position 1. And I just wanted to let you know that we all have the right to freedom of speech. But that leads me to my very first question. Why did they cut the studio time in Seattle in 2020? Seattle Community TV channel. That they lost a lot of jobs and they all went to Thurston County Media, if not media agencies that pays for drastically for media productions. Now, I wrote about this. Hold on. Okay. So it says there is a population of nearly 800,000 people here in the city of Seattle. Why at the brink of the Great Recession? Because there was a recession, had a whopping 15.5% decrease drop in labor in 2020. This is during the time they were trying to get Trump out of office and everything was just going bad and haywire. It was a bad recession. It rose a little bit in 2021, but then had an inflation which went up to 14.1%. And in the second year that it took off. I asked though, why did so many good people in television network had a golden ticket to make your videos come to life in our great Seattle? Why did they get fired or moved? This is a quote from them. The new model sought to rely less on financial support from the city and to supplement traditional television production techniques with the new social media technologies. So they wanted to rely less on financial support from the city and try to supplement traditional television, which is to have the people pay for it. Now, the reason why that was is because it was something going on between the city and the television company that was causing a conflict of interest. Why wasn't our city helping with getting young adults, new older people, stories out there onto the programming? Why don't we care anymore? A little birdie told me, I won't say her name, but she told me that they're developing the same problem at their media center and that they have issues arising, which is causing them to believe that they may be shut down themselves. And it's because the city don't want to pay. Everything is paid programming. You have to pay $3,000 for an ad in Kivo News, or Fox 13 News, or different major news companies. You have to pay at least $3,000 to be published. That's hands down. You have to pay that much money to advertise with them. $1,500 or above. And it always equal back up. And I'm not blaming them. This is what they do. This is their avenue and what they do. I'm not blaming them. What I do blame is the city for not taking it seriously for the public media groups that wants to put their materials out there, as long as it's not sexually exploitation or too belligerent with cussing. I believe it should happen. It's not right that we have to sit up there and suffer, or they have to sit up there and suffer. We, as in me too, because of what happened. The conflict of interest, not like you're saying, what are we getting out of the deal? It's not fair. Why couldn't city council agree upon that? Now we have to be in school, making you guys revenue through college. The only way to get into a television agency in Seattle is to go to college, or the next avenue is to pay like $5,000 per hour session. Now, if we're not students, we have to pay for the studio time, and it's not right for freedom of speech. This is what I mean by freedom of speech is muting and turning into a historic thing. And my hearts go out to the people and the children that wants to make a change and talk about really vast, great things. Now, it says, how many children is in Washington State right now? Now, before I say that, I'm going to say it twice. What is the population to Washington State? 7.8 million. Now, how many children is in Washington State? 1.7 million. Next question. How many teachers are active in Seattle? 200,000. That's not right. That is something that is not. They are burnt out, just like a cop would be. This has to change. Teachers make approximately $23.31 a day. That's a whopping $2,898 every 2 weeks. That's not enough for the teacher every year that goes by, that it doesn't change. It doesn't inflate, just like a Pell Grant. The Pell Grant that's been $2,500 a semester hasn't inflated, but the school prices has. Have y'all noticed that since the 80s? So every year that goes by could have changed the pay and the benefit that you guys receive. You are the first responders to our community and our students, and we need a proper education for our students. Without this, they'll be lost. Now back to the teachers that make $2,898 every 2 weeks. If the mortgage is $2,027 average for Seattle, then that's one paycheck for a single mother. Or how about $671 for the paycheck of being dominated and held by groceries and gas prices being so high? That's not normal. Then you have miscellaneous. Then you have your other check. But then your other check is going to go towards something else too. You need clothes. You got insurance. You got bills like electric, water, gas, cable, car wash, car note. If you have 2 cars, it's over. If you have a Tesla, it's really over. So moving on. The population in Washington State houses over 7.8 million people. How are we safe when there's only 9,000 documented police officers? Yes, they have a non-clip chamber. Yes, they have gun plates for protection. But that does not solve the problem of secretively defunding and making it tougher for the police officers. Once you work in any field of tragedy and courageousness mixed in with other serious factors, you don't come back from that the same. It's exactly like being in Iraq over in a hardship tour somewhere overseas. Their hard work goes unnoticed and they have to suffer from some type of mental health issues. They do suffer from mental health issues. They have to. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when you have them working overtime all day, seeing death. I mean, imagine seeing death every day working overtime. You grow numb, right? Getting numb, being numb, shooting on shootouts. You will suffer. Why can't they have even better pay? This is a contained and conduct a contained project. What I mean by that is they limit the amount of police officers on the force so they won't have to pay as much as extensive much as they could be paying for that officer. The more officers there are, the more they have to pay that amount. The less officers, the more money is in their pockets. Period. Sleep exhaustion is something that can damage someone if not treated properly. They need more cops on the field with freedom of speech so they have the right to speak but do not do any harm to others unless it's their job. That's why cops accidentally kill, because you allow them to work overtime and they aren't in the right mind. They need proper time to de-escalate themselves, not just sleep. Think about this, working 18, almost 17 hours a day. You don't have time with your wife, your kid, yourself, nothing. So, lastly, what's scary about that is it can be identified easily because of the shortage. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, how is the ethnic background in Southeast Seattle? Also, the homeless veteran out on the street. Wait, sorry. How is the ethnic background in Seattle? Also, the homeless veterans out on the street. Give me a second, real quick. The homeless veterans out on the street. How do they live? How can we help them? I was a homeless veteran. And I'm smart. It's not about being smart and can't pay your bills. It's about what the VA does. There's approximately 1,569 documented veterans that are homeless right now in Seattle. They allow drug pushing, drug use of any type. Everything plays in these shelters. The YWCA did me dirty in the veterans program. They told me I had a bed and then took it away. They fed me through other drug addicts, methamphetamine. Everything that went on there was corrupted and wrong, and the cameras will tell you everything that happened that showed I was telling the truth. The footage is what I want. This is wrong, what they did to me. And this is wrong what they do to veterans. Every veteran gets noticed and as just a no number person. We're no numbers to them. We are no numbers. We're just somebody that they work for and they think that they're better than us. Not the nurses, but the people that work at like HUD-VASH, YWCA. They think that they're better than us, like they're doing us favors or something. It's your job. It's your job to do this for us. You make it seem like a big deal when we walk in here asking for funding. Are you taking our funding? Is that what it is? This is wrong what they do. They do not care, that the drugs flood our cities. Only drugs that should be flooding our cities is just medicinal marijuana, period. Who is actually getting paid off of this zombification project in 2024? Who is really getting paid off of this zombification project? Like, think about it. Who is getting paid to sit up there and zombify Seattle? Everywhere you go downtown, there's somebody smoking or acting like they're not smoking, but smoking. And if I have something to say, if you're doing methamphetamine, get off of it. If you're doing any type of drugs, get off of it. If I can get off of like so many drugs, except knowing I never did methamphetamine knowingly. I'll tell you this. I've been on a lot of drugs and I've gotten off of it cold turkey. And I'm not on any drugs. Only thing I'm taking is Motrin and gabapentin. I don't want any other drugs. Unless I'm severely to the point where a Motrin or a Tylenol isn't working, which hasn't been the case, period, then I don't want any narcotic, period. If my foot not chopped off or I have gangrene and it has to get chopped off or any of that, then I'll take pain medication. But I'm not taking pain medication because it completes a cycle. The cycle goes around over and over again. Your children notices everything you do. When you're doing drugs, they're not stupid. We always underestimate children. We're like, oh, well, they're not going to know. I go in the bathroom and do it. But they see the repeated behavior. Daddy going in the bathroom a little too much. Mommy going in the bathroom a little bit too much. And then it's always smoky. What's up with the smoke? Like, seriously, children aren't stupid. Daddy's drinking a little bit too much. Maybe I should drink. I remember when I was 15, I was allowed to drink. I'm not even a drinker, but I was allowed to drink. And I used to go over my friend's house, and she used to wait till her mother go to work, and then she would just knock down so much alcohol, and I would just be sipping, not even sipping to the point where I got tipsy. I would get so scared because of much alcohol that she drank. And I'd be like, wow. And this is what I mean. The children, they follow their parents' footsteps. Now, I believe she's probably an alcoholic. She has to be an alcoholic. She got to be an alcoholic by now. Her mother tried everything, but she was a single mother. She sat up there and she did not sit up. She sat up there and she tried to hinder her child, but she was a drinker. And then another thing I want to talk about is a very touchy subject, which is rap music versus alternative to electro techno to pop to rock. If you are letting your child listen to places, people like Lil Wayne 90% of the time, and he's saying pop somebody in the head or we're going to shoot this MF, then that shows that you don't care what your child listens to. And when he ends up in jail at the age of 16 or 15 or 14 or even 18, then you're going to wonder, where did it come from? Where did you go wrong? I have to hinder myself listening from rap music because it's starting to put a toll on me. I can filter it out, but I see it's the devil's music. They only have one agenda, to talk about shaking their booties. And I'm black. I'm black. To talk about shaking their booties, carrying pistols around. Then your child learn how to carry your pistols around. It's an influence. And kill somebody. And then they're curious to know what it's like to kill somebody. Versus MGMT, she likes working too much. MGMT, may speak about certain dark things, but it's not about killing. It's not about shooting somebody and taking somebody's life. It's so fluently, ever so fluently done and we need to change this about our careers, our rapping. But it's so deeply rooted. Our children is going to sit up there and be forever embedded in this stuff. Our black kids need to grow up with a fair chance. Listening to rap music, we don't get a fair chance. I was listening to Biggie, I Don't Want to Live No More. That could have produced some of my depression symptoms. It goes all the way back to Tupac too. I remember the Gap Band. They're good. All the bands. Once the rap really like KRS, different regular groups, the hip, the hop, the hippie, the good rap bands. They were doing good stuff. I even interviewed Tag Team. DC Glenn from Tag Team. He's a great rapper. Whoop, there it is. Everybody will forever remember him. But it phased out with talking about violence, booty shaking, and orgasms and stuff that doesn't matter. So if you want to sit up there and allow your children to listen to that, then go ahead. But white people, they listen to it at least 30% of the time. They don't listen to it 90% of the time. If you're not observing what your child is listening to, I seen a bunch of mothers taking their children. I love Doja Cat, but I'm 39 years old. I can like Doja Cat, but I saw a bunch of mothers taking their 12 and 11-year-olds, recruiting them and don't even know it, to Doja Cat lyricism. It's just not right. So, what do we do about this? We start making change and progress about this. The lyrics need to change. I even listen to Empire of the Sun. Empire of the Sun is a great band. And they came out with a new CD that will be fully out in June or July of this year. It's only 2 songs on Changes and Something Else. I'm promoting good music. Will Smith was a great musician. Men in Black, they didn't like Will Smith. The darker you got, the more people listen. In the frequency on there, there's frequencies. If you don't believe it, look up the 369 frequency. The 369 frequency is a frequency for abundance and life bringing and giving by Nikola Tesla. Now, the frequencies that are in these music this day is terrible. And my heart goes out to everybody affected in the Travis Scott concert. Poor little young whippersnapper girl said that the frequency was different. She even knew. Children aren't dumb these days. He said to drink everything, take all the drugs and come to the place, and people died. A young 10-year-old died and got stomped on. So my goal is to make a change, not only in Seattle, but within the whole United States. And maybe 10 to 20 years, 1 to 2 decades, I can start to try to run for president of the United States and make some big, harsh changes. I'm not like anybody. I'm very smart. I'm not saying that nobody is smart. I'm saying I am very smart. I done spoke with physicists. I done spoke with a lot of good people. And so what I mean by that is I'm on everybody's level. The ones that I'm not on their level is because they don't want me to be in their bubble. But I've spoken to some great people. And I want to make a change for America as well. And I look up to people, and I just want to make a change. I want to make a good drastic change from being raised in the ghetto to being homeless to seeing what's going on out there. I don't read statistical books. I've seen what's going on out there. That's the difference between me and every other politician. They read statistics. They don't go off of word, not just word of mouth. Word of mouth is out the door too. I go off of real life circumstances of what's happened to me. Period. Shelters, corruption. Period. One band, one sound. I want to work in a bipartisan way, and probably by the time I run, we can all work together, both Republican and Democrat, in a real bipartisan way. A real bipartisan, no backstabbing. That goes for both sides. You got some good politicians and some bad politicians on both sides. And we need to come together and make it work. And that's all I want is a unity. Like Queen Latifah said, that's another great rapper. So, yeah, that's all I really have to say. And I hope you all enjoyed my conversation and dialogue. I hope that y'all gain some knowledge from this. I hope that y'all vote for me. Go out there and vote by August 6th. Even if I'm at the 20 to 30 percentile, I will feel really happy. I don't care. It's not about winning, because it took President Lincoln 3 tries to win as president of the United States of America. This is my second try. So you take care, you guys. Be safe, and I will see y'all another time. Thank you.